The entire city came to her funeral, but only one man stood motionless, his eyes hollow, his soul gone. Matteo De Luca, the most feared mafia boss in Rome, had buried countless men in silence. But this time it was different. He wasn't burying an enemy. He was burying her. His fiancée, Isabella, the woman who had made him believe he could still be human. But just as the final prayer ended, a ripple of gasps spread through the crowd. Matteo's head snapped up, and what he saw made his heart stop. Standing in the rain at the edge of the cemetery was Isabella, or at least her face. Rain fell steadily, drenching the cemetery in a cold, relentless rhythm. Every drop that hit the dark marble of the tombstone sounded like a heartbeat, slow, heavy, final. Matteo De Luca stood motionless, a tall figure in a black overcoat, his hands clenched into fists at his sides. The umbrella his bodyguard held above him did little to shield him from the storm. He didn't care. Let it soak him. Let it wash away the last pieces of who he had been before this day. The man they were burying with her wasn't the mafia boss everyone feared. It was the man Isabella had loved. And he was gone now, buried with her smile. He could still see her face in flashes, the way she used to look up at him with that mischievous glint in her eyes. Calling him Matteo instead of boss, daring to touch the side of his face when no one else would. "One day," she used to say, "you'll stop being afraid of being happy." He never understood what she meant until now, when happiness was something he could never have again. The priest's voice droned softly. Words about peace, faith, and heaven. Words Matteo had never believed in. There was no peace for men like him, no heaven waiting at the end. There was only loss and vengeance. His chest tightened as the casket began to lower into the earth. It felt wrong, like the world had made a mistake. She wasn't supposed to die before him. He had made enemies of everyone else, but not her. She was the only one who saw him as something more than the monster everyone whispered about. When the final handful of soil hit the wooden surface, Matteo's jaw flexed. His men stood behind him, silent and respectful. They knew better than to speak when their boss looked like this, hollow-eyed, grief burning beneath his calm. A few mourners began to leave, black umbrellas floating away like ghosts. Still, Matteo stayed, staring down at the grave until the rain blurred everything. He reached into his pocket, pulling out the small silver locket Isabella used to wear, the one she always said she'd never take off. But the police had found it in her car, the clasp broken. His fingers closed around it, his knuckles white. "I'll find who did this," he whispered, his voice low and dangerous, barely audible above the rain. "I swear it, Bella, whoever took you from me, I'll end them." He turned at last, heading toward his car, when something caught his eye. A figure stood at the far edge of the cemetery, alone beneath the weeping oak. No umbrella, no flowers, no movement. Just a woman in a black dress, her hair wet and clinging to her face, her eyes fixed on him. For a heartbeat, Matteo couldn't breathe. It was her. It was Isabella, or at least it looked like her. The same soft features, the same trembling lips. His cigarette slipped from his fingers. The world tilted beneath his feet. He took a step forward, then another. "Isabella?" The word tore from his throat like a ghost he couldn't contain. The woman flinched at his voice, her expression twisting between shock and sorrow. When she spoke, her voice was quiet, fragile, and hauntingly familiar. "You're Matteo," she said, as if she already knew him. He froze, confusion battling the ache in his chest. "Who are you?" "I'm not Isabella," she whispered, tears mingling with the rain. "My name is Isla. I'm her twin sister." The air left his lungs. Twin sister? Isabella had never told him anything like that. In all the late-night confessions, in all her secrets and smiles, not once had she mentioned another her. "Why didn't she tell me?" he demanded, his voice low, rough. Isla's gaze dropped to the ground, her shoulders shaking. "Because she wanted to protect you," she said, trembling. "From the truth that got her killed." And in that moment, under the weeping sky, Matteo realized something terrible. Isabella's death wasn't an accident. It was a message. And now, her twin had brought the truth he wasn't ready to face. Matteo stared at her, his heartbeat thundering in his chest louder than the rain. Every instinct screamed that this woman shouldn't exist, that it was some kind of cruel trick. His world was built on lies, betrayal, and illusions. But as he stepped closer, the resemblance became undeniable. The same cheekbones, the same small scar above the lip, the one Isabella got when she was 17. But her eyes were different. Isabella's gaze had been warm, filled with light and mischief. This woman's eyes were tired, burdened by something heavy, something she wasn't saying. He stopped just a few feet away, the distance between them charged with disbelief and pain. "You're lying," he said quietly, his voice a mixture of grief and anger. "If Isabella had a sister, I'd have known." Isla's lips trembled, her hands twisting together. "She didn't want you to know," she said, her voice breaking. "We were separated when we were children. She was adopted into a wealthy family. I wasn't. By the time I found her again, she begged me to stay away from your world." "My world?" Mateo's tone hardened, his eyes narrowing. "You think you know what that means?" Isla met his gaze then, and for the first time he saw fire in her eyes, the same spark Isabella used to have when she stood up to him. "I know enough," she said. "I know she was scared. I know she said she loved you, but that loving you came with a price she couldn't afford." He flinched as if struck. The rain fell harder and thunder cracked in the distance, echoing the storm building inside him. He wanted to tell her she was wrong, that Isabella had never been afraid of him. But a part of him, the part that had always known how dark his world was, stayed silent. He turned away, running a hand through his rain-soaked hair, his voice dropping low. "If she was scared, it wasn't of me. It was of the people who wanted to hurt her because of me. And now they've succeeded." Isla took a hesitant step forward. "No, Mateo," she whispered. "They didn't kill her because of you. They killed her because of what she found out." He spun around, his eyes sharp as knives. "What did she find out?" Isla's expression flickered between fear and determination. She opened her mouth to speak, but before she could answer, 2 black cars turned into the cemetery gates. The headlights cut through the rain, blinding for a moment. Mateo's body immediately shifted, his shoulders tensed, hand going to the holster beneath his coat. His men, still lingering at a distance, reacted instantly, forming a protective line. "Get behind me," Mateo ordered, his voice low but commanding. Isla froze. "Who are they?" "Not friends," he said grimly. His jaw tightened as the car doors opened and 4 men stepped out. Faces hard, suits soaked, eyes trained directly on him. He recognized the crest on their lapels, the Romano family, rivals. Isabella's death had stirred something much bigger than grief. One of them called out through the rain, voice laced with mock sympathy. "Boss DeLuca, we came to pay our respects. Tragic loss, though some say it wasn't an accident." Mateo's eyes darkened. "Careful," he warned. The man smirked. "Funny thing, though. I heard the girl knew something she shouldn't. Maybe that's why her car went off that bridge." His eyes flicked to Isla. "And who's this? She looks familiar." Mateo's pulse surged, his protectiveness flaring. He stepped in front of Isla, blocking her from view. "She's nobody," he said sharply. "Leave." The men exchanged looks, one of them giving a cold laugh. "Whatever you say, DeLuca. But if she's connected to the dead one, you might want to watch her back. Seems your women have bad luck lately." Mateo's jaw clenched so hard it hurt. He gave a small nod to one of his men, a silent signal. Within seconds, 2 of the Romano soldiers were disarmed and shoved back toward their cars. The others got the message and left without another word, tires screeching as they sped away. When the silence returned, Mateo turned back to Isla, his voice softer but no less intense. "You're coming with me." Isla blinked, stunned. "What? No." "You just painted a target on your back," he said, stepping closer, his tone final. "Whoever killed Isabella might come for you next. You look like her. You are her in their eyes, and I won't let them touch you." "I don't need your protection," she said, though her voice trembled. He leaned closer, his gaze locking with hers, dark, unreadable. "That's what your sister said, too." The rain softened into a drizzle, and for a brief moment, the world felt still again. Isla looked up at him, torn between fear and trust. Mateo's grief had found a new purpose, and she, unwillingly, had become part of it. As they walked away from the grave, the locket still clutched in his hand. One thing was clear. Isabella's death was only the beginning, and her twin sister had just stepped into a world where love and danger were the same thing.